Hello everyone, and welcome to the first Q&Play of 2024. I hope you guys had a happy new year. I'm very excited for January. In any case, let's get into your questions. I'm going to answer them in a rambly, unscripted format while playing some video games. So here we go. Question from Zullala. Do you have any other family members that play D&D with you? If so, how's that dynamic? Do certain family members like to play certain characters? What about you? I know you DM a lot, but is there a certain type of character you gravitate towards the most? I don't play D&D with my family. My family are not really interested in Dungeons and Dragons, and so we don't play it together. Which, by the way, I think is perfectly fine. Not everybody is interested in these games, and I think that's perfectly reasonable because, they can be... While I think everyone should try, I do understand if you're just not interested. It does take a certain type of interest to get into TTRPGs. Now, in terms of what kind of character types I gravitate towards, I don't know why, but I've recently noticed a few things about the characters that I really enjoy. First and foremost, I just want to bring this up. I have not played D&D in forever, and I have very little interest in playing. Like, sometimes I imagine myself playing D&D and thinking, oh, that could be really fun, but my favorite part of D&D and TTRPGs is creating the story, creating the world, all that stuff, and then working it through with the players. When I imagine myself as a player, I usually imagine some kind of actual play being involved, because I do like being a cast member on, like, a show, but in terms of playing the game just for fun, I just can't imagine myself really getting into it. Because a big part of playing D&D is, you get to make your own player characters. But I get to make my own characters all the time for NPCs. Yeah, they don't take main central roles in the plot, but they don't really need to. I've never been a main character guy. Like, my favorite characters have always been side characters in movies and television shows and video games. Not to say I don't like MCs. I do, but just, it's not exactly a constant. So yeah, creating a bunch of side characters is something that I really enjoy. Now, in terms of which characters I really gravitate towards, I've noticed that... this is going to sound really weird. I've been making a lot of sapphic characters. I don't know why. It's something that my party and some of my friends have pointed out, but it's become a thing. Like, every campaign, there's some kind of really wholesome, lovable gay couple that my players inevitably will defend with their life. In terms of other tropes that my players have noticed in the characters I create, I like big, dumb himbo types, or honorable, laconic warriors. That's also a really cool trope that I like. Oh, and scary boss ladies with scales. I don't know why, but that's another trope that has popped up in every single campaign I've run. From a terrifying gang leader mermaid to a draconic sovereign sorceress to a straight up green dragon that's deceiving the party throughout the entire campaign. I don't know, it is just a trope that has been with me since the beginning. Okay, next question from BiggerinRealLife. I got into the Owl House because of you, and my kids and I adore it. Wondering what your favorite plot point was / your favorite character and why. By the way, I was so proud of this comment. I posted it on my private Instagram as my greatest achievement. So yeah, thank you whoever commented this. Anyway, the point is, yes, Owl House, great show, love it. One of my favorite shows of all time, easily. My favorite plot point, I would say everything that went down in Reaching Out. Reaching Out is an Amity and Luce-centric episode, which is obviously something I'm going to love as somebody who loves Lumity. In fact, I'm wearing a Lumity shirt right now as I'm recording this. And not only was that episode really solid all around, I really like seeing Luce and Amity's dynamic. I really like seeing Amity's relationship with her siblings and her father get more fleshed out. But on top of that, Luce, the main character of the Owl House, got so much more depth with a major reveal. Spoilers here, but the major reveal being that her father passed away when she was young. And that moment where she tells Amity about it is so heartbreaking, so well done. And for a kid's show, I mean, it's just incredible. In terms of favorite character, I mean, Amity's the obvious one. I cosplayed as her. I love her very dearly. As a fellow workaholic obsessive who also feels the need to constantly prove that I deserve to exist, I really empathize with Amity and her whole character arc. But honestly, it would be easier to say which characters I don't like, because the Owl House is really good at making almost every single character brilliant. The only characters I didn't really vibe with are the secondary antagonists, Kikimora and Basha. I think they're fine, but they are just fine. Like, compared to how well the Owl House does its main antagonist, how well Amity acted as a secondary antagonist in Season 1, I just feel like Basha and Kikimora, they ain't there. Other than them, though, I would say every single character is my favorite. Though Amity edges them all out just that little bit. Question from PastelHarper. What's your favorite D&D session you've ever DM'd or participated in? Oh boy. The end of my second Dungeons & Dragons campaign, Descent into the Veil, is by far the best session I've ever done. It was a 7-hour monstrosity. 3 epic major combats inside of a grand, incredible set piece. For background, my party are pursuing Vecna into the Eldritch Vale, a tear in reality, a storm of dark magic containing all of the aberrations of another universe. It is quite horrifying in there. 3 sessions of traversing through the maddening storm alongside their pirate outlaw fleet that they've gathered over the course of the campaign. All of their friends, all of their allies, so many already dead, and now they're at the final push, going into the city of Carcosa, where Vecna seeks to summon a new god and plunge the world into madness. And man, there were cameos from characters from our first ever D&D campaign, which obviously my players really, really loved. I used music from the Realms at War Quest and God of War Ragnarok, which has some of the best compositions I've ever heard in my life. Syncing some descriptions to that music led to some of the best moments in D&D ever. There was a moment where in the sky, the Raven Queen, the stranger on the shore, the goddess of death, pursued after Vecna, and the two did battle in the skies above the party. And yeah, combine that with music from God of War Ragnarok, and you've got a really memorable moment. When the party finally engaged Vecna themselves, I mean, oh my god. I mean, the fight started with Vecna tearing apart the Raven Queen's avatar, her blood sinking into the ocean, so much of it turned the water red. Vecna grabbing the entire island that the party are standing on and hoisting it into the sky and engaging the party after declaring all of his many, many titles and asking how they could possibly dream of standing against him. What preceded was a 2.5 hour straight combat, fighting Vecna in the skies above the Vale's battlefield, to being thrust into an alternate universe, fighting Vecna on top of the body of an unborn god, then returning back down to the temple to finish him off once and for all. With one of the greatest moments in my D&D campaign, almost all of the party down, the ranger taking one last shot to finish him off and just barely killing Vecna before he wipes out the party for good. Oh my god, that was amazing. After that, we had an incredible epilogue where tears were shed, farewells were had with beloved characters, and yeah, a 2-year story came to an end. The best D&D session I've ever DM'd, by far. Was it perfect? No. There were technical difficulties. I got disconnected from the call at one point. I even made an RPG horror story post about it. And yeah, it wasn't perfect, but it didn't have to be. I mean, I would never, ever take back anything that happened in that session. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, there were some things I look back on. Oh, you could have improved this, or you could have improved that, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I still think I could get better, though. That's the best part. I still think I can get better. That's what's so awesome about this. It was already great, and I think I can do even better next time. Like, the end of my first D&D campaign, I thought that was my peak, and I surpassed that. I think this is my peak right now, and I think I can surpass it yet again. Even if I can't, though, I'm excited to try. Okay, yeah, next question from Nocturnal Worker and Sky Kid. Favorite class to play and favorite class to see your players playing, and was by far one of your most disliked D&D classes, and why? Okay, my favorite class to play, probably Warlock. I love the versatility, and I love the roleplay aspects of Warlock. Being able to commune with your patron and being able to have that innate in-game relationship, I think is really, really powerful. When I'm DMing for Warlocks, I also really love that. Having a Warlock player in a campaign you're DMing allows you to give them exposition a lot more than usual. I like it when Warlock relationships are a bit more active, similar to Jester and the Traveler from Critical Role Campaign 2, which I understand she's a cleric, but just bear with me. The point is, I like it when Warlocks can talk to their patron because it lets me give exposition, which sometimes can be really, really useful, especially if your players do like the lore, but they don't necessarily know how to investigate it because they're inexperienced with D&D. So yeah, favorite class to play and favorite class to DM for, Warlocks. Though I do like DMing for all the classes, because at this point, I have DM'd for every single class in D&D, and none of them have been bad. So was by far my most disliked D&D class. In terms of my disliked D&D classes, for DMing, I'm going to say multi-class combinations that encourage selfish playing. I really hate when people are like, oh my god, I'm going to cast darkness that only I can see through, and I'm just going to crit farm the boss. I'm sorry, none of you guys can do anything, but I'm going to do tons of damage. Or I'm just going to fly away from the entire battlefield, making it a pain for the DM to track where I am. And you know what? Even though I'm completely abandoning you guys, like God forbid if you guys go down, I guess we're just screwed. And also I know it would be really helpful if I was down there to help out with arena mechanics. But, you know, sorry, I'm just going to be in the sky now. By the way, arena mechanics are something in my homebrew system. They're essentially layer actions, but instead of happening and stopping, they just happen, and the players need to do something to stop them. For example, the bad guy has a shield made of sleet storm and ice, and the party needs to find a torch in the arena, grab it, use it to infuse their attacks, and then attack the BBG to get rid of the shield. The shield isn't just going to go away. The players need to do something specific to remove it. They don't have to. Like, the bad guy can still take damage, but unless the players want the negative effects of the shield affecting them, they need to, you know, work together, find whatever's going on in the arena to deactivate it, and then deactivate whatever mechanic is going on. Having a player completely fly away is not helpful in that case. In terms of least favorite class to play, I don't know. I've never really vibed with the druid spec. I like transforming into animals. I think it's cool, but in terms of characters I would make, I just can't imagine making a druid. I've made a character for almost every single class that I would consider playing, like Kali is my warlock, Caroline's my rogue, etc, etc, etc. I've never made a druid though, not in my wheelhouse right now. What was your first ever Lego set? My first ever Lego set was the ATDP. It's this walker, you're seeing it. This is another one I bought. I actually own two, technically. The first ever Lego set I bought is obviously in ruins now. It's been a long time, so it is no longer really together. You can see its ruined husk on this battlefield on my shelf. But yeah, I have another one because I wanted to rebuild it, so I bought a new one, and there it is. Question from Blade of Flight 12 Hardcore Pro. Oh my god, what kind of name is that? I'm not sure if anyone has asked you, but do you have any D&D horror stories? I have plenty, and I've told plenty of them before, but I've got a new one for you. Not really a horror story, thought it was just funny. So, my players recently destroyed the Black Iron Pact, a rival gang of adventurers, and claimed one of their weapons, the Star of Iron. This is a hammer with a 10-foot reach that inflicts Bane on hit. If you don't know, it would be a subtraction of 1d4 to attack rolls and saving throws. That's pretty dang good. Rare hammer, requires attunement. And I was thinking, okay, the Barbarian could definitely use this thing. At this point in the campaign, he is the only member of the party who does not have a rare +1 weapon, so I thought a two-handed maul, 2d6 +1 damage, not bad. Guess what? He rejected it. The reason? It's not a sword. And I thought he was joking. I swore up and down he was joking. All of the party are like, you're joking. And he's like, no, I'm not going to use this because I want my character to be like Guts from Berserk, and Guts uses a sword, not a hammer. And we had like a 30-minute freaking debate trying to convince this guy to use the dang hammer. Even I started jumping in at the end because I was like, thinking in my head, I know what the party are about to face. I know they're about to fight some really hard encounters. So having this +1 maul that inflicts 1d4 Bane, not bad. But he's refusing it actively to keep his wimpy little greatsword because the greatsword's a sword and not a hammer. It got so bad that the Warlock was like, I will cast Minor Illusion on the hammer to make it look like a sword every hour just so that you use it. And still, the Barbarian rejected it. And by this point, we have art, official art, in scare quotes, for all of the characters. Canonically, he's using a sword in the art, so why can't he just be happy with that? But my friend said, no, Crispy. I will always know the truth. I will know that I'm using a hammer. And how am I supposed to cut enemies in half with a hammer? I can't do that. And I was like, fine. So anyway, now he's not using the hammer. This weapon that could have been really helpful is not being used. And if they TPK next session because of that, I'll make sure to let you know. I will absolutely let you know. Okay, final question from KnicKnac. Why do you normally DM? Do you just not vibe with certain groups? Do you have a character you would like to play? Okay, so I kind of talked about this before, but yeah, I normally DM just because I love world building. Like, I don't think people understand. I love just sitting down and working on my D&D stuff. Just organizing my audio sound effects, organizing my lore. It doesn't even need to be for the immediate session, but I just love the process of building out this world for my players to experience. It's just so simple and perfect and fun. I have this list on my whiteboard. It's like a checklist for what I need to do for DMing. The only thing here that I really don't love doing is taking notes. Note-taking for D&D is a pain in the butt. There are times where it takes bloody forever, but once I'm done taking notes and getting ready for the session, after that, I get to do the fun stuff. Prepping tokens, prepping maps, prepping sound effects and music and ambiance, getting all that organized and ready and having it in neat color-coded folders. It's everything I love. That's why I love DMing. It's just fun. I even enjoy the prep of it. The stuff that people don't love, I love. That's my thing. In terms of groups I vibe with, I mean, I vibed with almost every group I have run a game for, every actual play, every group of friends I've played with. There were a couple times where it didn't really work out. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there was this one time where I swear to God, some of these people were just a little joyless, like nothing horror story level. It's just they weren't really vibing with any sort of humor at all, and I thought that was, I don't know, I thought that was lame. Like, dang, we're playing a game, lighten the heck up. In terms of characters I would like to play, I would like to play Reyna, my Baldur's Gate 3 character. At this point, I have taken her from her Baldur's Gate 3 self and just transformed her into a completely different character with a completely different story. But at this point, I really, really love her. She's a supernatural detective that uses her powers to investigate murders alongside her psychic girlfriend. It's fun, it's cool, but honestly, I think she also works as an NPC. I could use her as an NPC in a future campaign, or perhaps as a player character in some actual play. I don't know, who knows what's gonna happen. All right, woo, that was a neat little recording session. I need to go get my car fixed, so I'm gonna wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more of our content, then you can check out our RPG Horror Stories series. We just got some new intro vibes in that show. If you want to check it out, it's linked in the cards. And while you're there, subscribe to Crispy's Tavern to get more of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions or thoughts, go down in the comments down below. If you can't think of a comment, leave the comment till Valhalla to reference the game I'm playing in the background and to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.